Hello, I'm Agent Ghost and welcome to the Archives. And I have a question for you today. Have you ever just wanted to stop NPCs in their track and then let your friends or buddies just light it up and just take them all down? Well, if you have, great. And if you haven't, also great, because this video is going to let you do that, no problems. And even if you already have kind of a visual idea of that, well, here's just something to also move things along. I'll see you in a sec. Welcome back. Saw everything you needed to see? Yes? Well, take care and be safe. But for all the rest of you beautiful people that said no, enjoy the rest of the show. Starting off with the specialization, and I'm at the specialization counter today, so that way I can give you a better visual representation of my reasoning for going with the gunner specialization. And the reason why I've gone with the gunner specialization is for the ability Banshee Pulse, and this is just one of my favorites and I think arguably one of the best crowd control abilities in the game, and you can only have this ability through equipping the gunner specialization. Everything else is just kind of nice to have. Make sure to always match up your weapons with whatever weapons you're using for the most damage, but the only other minor reason is in the talent incessant, which killing enemies grants 10% armor, and the passive talent incessant, you know, it's not a lot, but even with our status effect gets a kill, that will proc and give us armor back. Again, it's not a lot survivability, but any survivability I can is just amazing, and I'm thankful for it. Going with the more traditional specialization, which would be Firewall, the main reason I know and think of is because of enriched magnesium formula, which gives plus 20% burn duration, always handy. This also, you know, slight more survivability. And then the only other two minor reasons are on armor break, apply burn to enemies within 5 meters, so just burn, and then fire starter, which gives you a sidearm incendiary shotgun. So I will go over later during the abilities what abilities I will suggest and recommend for either specialization you go with. Just know all the footage I show you will be with the gunner specialization. Alright, now we're going to go back to the shooting range where I'm going to go over the rest of the build. Awesome, now that we've gone over the gunner specialization, I'm going to start things off with the main star of the show, the exotic shotgun the Scorpio. And for exotic weapons, you can't really change the core attributes much or the mods at all, so we're just going to go over the talent, which is the whole reason why I have this equipped. And the talent is Septic Shock. Shooting a target applies stacks of venom, which last for 10 seconds. Increasing stacks adds more severe debuffs to the target. So when you shoot the target 1 time, you apply poison. When you shoot the target 3 times, you apply the disorient debuff. When you shoot the target 6 times in a row, you apply shock. When you shoot the target 7 times in a row, the target takes an additional 20% damage from all sources. Stacks no longer increase. The duration of the status effects is based on the percentage of pellets hit on the applying shot. So if you hit more pellets from your shotgun blast, the longer the duration of all of those debuffs will be. And amazing stuff really for any status effects build, and that's why I love the shotgun for this build. Moving on to the secondary, I'm using the named Test Subject Assault Rifle. You can get this from Farming Countdown, just like the exotic shotgun Scorpio. Just set the targeted loot to Assault Rifle and set the targeted loot to shotgun for both of these. Now, the reason why I'm using the Test Subject is for the talent Perfectly in Sync, which hitting an enemy grants plus 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. And then using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants plus 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. The damages increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. So when you hit an enemy with your weapon, you'll give your skills plus 20% or 40% as long as within 5 seconds you also hit them with your skill, which will give you plus 40% weapon damage. It's just crazy. So it really stacks well with one another. This doesn't, we'll get into the abilities later, but it really only applies for your incendiary abilities. Alright. I'm using you can use whatever pistol you want. I'm using the Orbit for the talent Perfect Finisher. You can pause and take a look at my talent as well as the mods I have on there if you're interested, but really just use whatever you want. Now off to the gear, and I'm using the Gear Exotic Helmet Vial for the talent, but we'll go over the stats here right now, which the core attribute is +1 skill tier. The regular attributes are 8.7% status effects, plus 10% hazard protection, and a plus 12% skill haste mod. But the main purpose is for the talent, and I'm mainly using it for the beginning talent, but all of it is just amazing. Which Toxic Delivery. Status effects also apply a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds. Total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and increases by your status effect attribute. So that's why we're going to be rolling status effects in most of our things, because that also applies to the talent Toxic Delivery. Now we're going to start off with the gear set, Eclipse Protocol gear set, and we're going to go with the chest piece first because of the talent, but we're going to move our way down from the gear set bonuses. So if you have 2 pieces of the gear set, you get plus 15% status effects. Always nice for throughout this entire build. 3 pieces, you'll get plus 15% skill haste, which will get our abilities back that much quicker. Plus 30% hazard protection, so we're more immune to things like setting ourselves on fire. We're not completely immune, but we will take less damage and the effects won't last as long with more of that hazard protection. And with 4 pieces, the most important aspect of this entire gear set, indirect transmission. Your status effects now spread on kill to all enemies within 10 meters and refresh 50% of the duration. So, like a plague, if you get a kill or somebody else kills the person with your status effects applied to them, they'll spread to people within 10 meters and will refresh the duration on all of it. Now for the core attribute, +1 skill tier, regular attributes plus 10% status effects, and a 11.8% skill haste mod. Now for the talent. Proliferation? I believe that's how you pronounce that. If I butchered it, I apologize. But what it does is it increases indirect transmission range from 10 meters to 15 meters and refreshes the percentage from 50% to 75%. So it just makes the 4th gear set bonus that much stronger, which is just amazing. Now we're going to go to the backpack because it also has a talent, which we've already gone over the gear piece bonuses. So for the core attribute, I have +1 skill tier. In the regular attributes, I've re-rolled plus 10% status effects, and I have a plus 12% skill haste mod. But for the talent, Symptoms Aggravator amplifies all damage you deal to status affected targets by 30%. So any targets affected by our status effects amplifies our damage by 30%. It's just amazing. Then the gloves, I have plus 1 skill tier and plus 10% status effects. In the knee guards, I have plus 1 skill tier and plus 10 status effects. Now for the holster, I'm using the Hanayu Corporation holster for the Hanayu brand set, which gives us plus 10% skill haste. And in the core attribute, we have plus 1 skill tier. In the regular attributes, we have 9.3% status effects, and I re-rolled plus 12% skill haste. Now we're going to move on to the abilities. So to start things off with the gunner specialization, when I'm running things co-op, quick thing about this build is you can use this solo, and the end footage I'll show proof of that concept that you can use this solo, but I really recommend using this in group play or with friends and or random people. Most scenarios, it just really shines and really hits the full potential of the build with other people, because it's all about stopping NPCs in their place. They can't do anything, and you do have some damage, but not a crazy amount. But it's just very satisfying when you stop the NPCs in their tracks, and then there's just a group of people just mowing them down. Just awesome to see. Now for the Banshee Pulse stats, you can pause and take a look at them right there. It is tier 6 with plus 60% cone size and plus 60% disorientate duration. Now, these are the mods that I have in. What I can say is the cone size, hang on, I have plus 10% radius. I actually want cone size. For the increase, you can see right there, it gives an increased cone angle. Now, if you don't have a cone size mod, with the gunner specialization, you get the directional transmitter, which gives you plus 15% radius. So you can just throw that on there if you don't have it, but there's the mod. Now for the other ability, and then I will show them off, I have the Chem Launcher Riot Foam Gun. And because of tier 6, we have plus 6 ammo, plus 300% in snare health, plus 60% in snare duration, and plus 30% radius. I have the mods. You can pause and take a look. Just plus 1 ammo and snare duration. And there are the stats. Now we're going to go over a quick demonstration. So how this looks, we're actually going to go over to AOE. I'm going to pop my Banshee Pulse. Make sure you always stay in cover. You really cannot face tank with this build. And then I'm switching to my Riot Foam. And when I shoot them with this, they die, and it just spreads all throughout all the nearby enemies. And now they're all affected by the status effects of Vial, as well as Banshee Pulse and Riot Foam. And then I also can apply status effects with the Scorpio Shotgun, which is just absolutely crazy. But that's what I do for group play. Now we're going to move on to the abilities that I use for solo. So when I'm doing solo with the gunner tree, all that I do is switch out the Riot Foam for a burn sticky bomb, which I do that specifically that way I can still Banshee Pulse in solo, but then I use the incendiary sticky bomb to just spread flames everywhere, and then while the flames are active, perfectly in sync and proc twice on my test subject, and then I just do all that much more damage. So that's all I do for gunner. And then if you went with the fire starter specialization, the abilities I'd actually recommend is using Chem Launcher Riot Foam again. I'll cook that real quick so you can just see a visual representation. And then I would recommend the Air Burst Seeker Mine, which here are the stats as well as what mods I have on. Same thing with Riot Foam again. But what I like to do with this combination is I like to group up or Riot Foam them, and then I drop the Seeker Mine, have the Seeker Mine go out, and then just detonate on everything. And that's the combination I'd recommend if you're going with fire starter. But like I said, throughout this video, I am using There's right foam, the gunner specialization, and it's mainly designed for group, but that's what I would recommend for both of those, ability-wise. Still experiment, have fun, and kind of just do your own thing, but again, that's what I recommend. There's the pulse. My mistake. There we go. Alright. Now we are going to go over the stats, and then I'll show you the rest of the gameplay footage. Let's just make sure. Yep. Alright. In weapon stats, I have 631,000 weapon damage for the, well, you can use either or for group play. I just switch back and forth, honestly, between the Scorpio and test subject. But we'll take a look at the test subject just because it's the assault rifle. So 72,000 weapon damage. You don't have a lot without perfectly in sync. So again, your abilities are great and you rely on others a lot of the time, but you can still produce good damage. You just got to be patient. Plus 10% crit hit chance, plus 45% crit hit damage, plus 55% headshot damage, plus 21% health damage. That's everything else. Now an offensive, plus 10% all weapon damage bonus, plus 30% assault rifle damage bonus. We're not using light machine guns, and plus 15% shotgun damage bonus. We already went over the talents and brand sets, so now under armor, 726,000 armor. You are very, again, squishy with this build, so try not face tank, and when the enemies are stopped in their place from your crowd control, that's when you want to shoot at them and basically engage the enemy. 72,000 armor on kill. 308,000 max health, as well as all the rest of the stats. So 50% hazard protection, which applies to bleed resistance, blind, burn, disorient, disrupt, and ensnare, poison, shock resistance. So that's all of the stats. But now let's move on to the last of the gameplay footage, and you all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day. Bye. You're still here? That's awesome. Well, since you're still here, let me tell you the most important piece of advice. Whatever you do, don't... Wait, I hear ticking. Oh, no! Ah!
Agent killed.